Hello and welcome to the Science Fiction and Fantasy Marketing Podcast, the show where we help you establish your author brand, increase the size of your audience, and sell more books. I'm Lindsay Baroker, and with me as always is Jeffrey Poole and Joe Lalo, and I see I have typo in my notes there where I've got my introduction. Almost introduced myself twice. But we do not have a guest tonight, but thank you for tuning in to listen to us anyway, because I think we're going to cover some pretty good stuff that we haven't talked about before. We're going to kind of do a little news update, what we've been working on, and then we're going to jump into newsletters, talking about like who we use for providers, what we kind of do, what our strategies are, and how we get more people to sign up. So hopefully that will be interesting to people. And we're also going to talk a little bit about a story bundle, I don't know, opportunity, I guess you would call it, that's coming up, and it's related to NaNoWriMo. And we're also going to talk about contests in general and whether as an author it's a good idea to try to win any, and if it means anything, if you can impress people in your book descriptions by saying you won such and such contest. But before we jump into all that, yeah, let's catch up with everybody and see what's been going on. Jeff, do you want to talk about your big news first?
Sure. As fans of mine know, that when I release a book, it's typically once a year. So for me to actually hit 2 books in a year, for me, is quite impressive. But when you hit 2 in a month, that don't get used to it. It's not going to happen again, probably for a good long while. But I finally released. I get the glare off it. There we go. It's Portal for Your Thoughts. It's my third book in the Tales of Lantari series. It's the one with the cliffhanger at the end. I've actually already started getting some reviews, which people are saying that ending, if you didn't have the other book already up for pre-order in less than a month's time, I would be, changing my rating from 5 to 4 or something, or even less. But yeah, so I've got those, and I've got the sequel to that is already up for pre-order, and then thanks to Mark Coker, when he was here a couple of weeks ago, talked me into signing up. It's one of these little promo things going up here. So I've got the fifth book, a rough guesstimate of when it should be done, up as a pre-order, and that's even taken off pretty well. So it's been a busy year so far, and I can't complain.
Awesome. Congratulations on the new
Thank you.
releases. Should have a pretty good month there. You might be tempted to quit the day job when all that big money comes in.
Oh yeah, all the snowbird clients that can't figure out how to turn on a computer. Gotta love it.
All right. Well, Joe, do you want to tell us what's been going on in your world?
Sure. I have been writing the next book in my Book of Deacon series, which a lot of fans have been waiting for. And technically, I started it last October, but then NaNoWriMo happened, and lots of other things happened. But it's almost done. I actually, a half hour ago, I passed the 150,000 words mark, which was my manuscript target. And I am going to have to pass that target considerably because there's at least 4 scenes left to go. I just tweeted a thing where you can see, I had tweeted a while ago that my last scenes to write were whatever, heading for the final battle, more final battle, final battle, epilogue. And now, if you look at it, it's final battle 1, 2, 3, 4, more final battle, final battle 1, 2, 3, 4. Like, it just grows. So it will be done soon, and I already have a release date for it, which is way at the end of the year. It's going to be November 12th is the release date, and it's actually available for pre-order yet. Like, it's available for pre-order right now. But I didn't announce that yet because A, it didn't show up in all the places, and B, it still has the temporary cover. So I'm not going to really do my big pre-order push until I have a cover reveal, I think. Might change my mind on that.
Why November 12th? Out of sheer curiosity.
Well, there was some thought behind it. It had something to do, like there is another thing that I'm going to be involved with. It's happening that November, so I was hoping for a 1-2 punch. And also, at the time that I set that date, it was an even number of months ahead. So I'm sure there was more logic to it when I made the decision, but then I just stuck with it once I had arbitrarily chosen that date.
Yeah, I was just curious, like the first of the month, maybe, or the end of the month, or maybe the middle of the month. But instead, it's the 12th of the month. So I was just curious.
No, yeah, it was more or less random. I probably made that decision like on the 12th of last month. And I was like, well, that's 7 months away.
I'm looking to see if you have a magic 8 ball or something like that behind
No,
you on the shelf that advises you on these things.
no. It was just I randomly pull numbers out of. That's the same reason it was 150,000 words. I will randomly pull numbers and then stick to them. So arbitrary milestones that become concrete. That's my way of thinking.
Like how all your short stories end up as full-length novels and
Yeah,
series starters.
yeah, that's absolutely the case. Is I have these plans, I stick to them, and then they fall apart, and hopefully in a good way. Oh, and just to give you an idea of my failed marketing skill, again, I'm giving marketing advice. I'm the counterexample because the name of this book is The DeCaron Apprentice, and the word DeCaron is a made-up word that has an apostrophe in it. So I guarantee everyone will be able to search for this book with no problems.
I did that with one of my pen name books, knowing full well that people would misspell it. It's like the runes of Kazarak or something. It's some Eastern European mythological thing, so it's an actual thing. And that is my least well-selling book. So maybe, I don't
Yeah,
know, maybe you'll have a different experience with the funky name.
could be.
Yeah,
I sure hope so.
I chose the Bakkian for mine, the Bakkian. I Googled it, I Yahoo searched it, I did everything. The name did not exist. I have people pronouncing it Bakkain, Bakkain. My grandfather thinks it's bacon. I mean, oh well. But still, though, you Google that one word and you will find me.
Well, there's something to be said for that. Don't do the thing where I named a character in one of my series without Googling it, which it's weird because I usually do kind of Google it to see if it's a name of a corporation or something already. And it turns out the character's name is Sardell, which I thought that was a nice female name. It's been released for one day and I get an email from a German reader. That means like anchovy in German, right? Oh, cool. And since I have a lot of German readers, I've heard that a lot now. It's like someday I'll be doing a signing at a con and they'll be like, oh, your character's name is Sardine or Anchovy, right?
Yeah, you ever read that book? Her name was Sardine in it, and it's really good.
I hope they'll add that on the end.
I gotta say that happened to me in reverse, where people thought I was smarter and more. I tweeted about this recently. I got an email from a fan in the book that I just released, Skykeep. It's a steampunk setting, and the name of one of the countries is Caldera. And I got an email from a fan who said, "Did you name that country Caldera because it's Spanish for boiler?" And I was like, "Yeah, that's why I did that." That's exactly why I did it. It was an incredibly deep, multi-layered reference to the steampunk genre. That's what it was for. Or because there's a volcano there, and on the top of a volcano is a caldera. So technically I did, because a caldera is called that because it's Spanish for cooking pot, so I don't know. But yeah, I was like, I'm absolutely intelligent like that. I pull these ones all the time.
Excuse me, Dusty here. Sorry.
All right. Well, I do actually let me ask a quick question before I go on to my news, which is not as cool as you guys' news. When you do these 150,000 word books, which we've talked about as, fantasy, epic fantasy can definitely get up there. Last one I just finished was 130,000, and I thought it would be 80,000. So yeah. But do you ever think of serializing them? Because that's something I see bandied around a lot on like K-boards.
I have thought about serializing. There's a few things that I've done in the past that I thought maybe I could break this up into smaller pieces. I'm really fascinated on the concept of serializing something. Not so much because I want to extract more money out of readers, but I like the idea of the quick feedback. You put something out in rapid succession and you can sort of sculpt the end to fit what people were expecting of it. I just haven't, I kind of feel like I'm going to have to write it specifically with serializing it in mind. But I definitely think that splitting up a big, long thing into smaller pieces and parceling it out over time is a good way to build momentum and get good feedback.
Yeah, I think it's probably not a good idea to just randomly break up a big book. But if I could see the appeal too. I've thought about it, of actually planning something out where it would really make sense as a serial. I've mentioned before that my pen name does science fiction romance, and just recently there was somebody that had spots, 4 through 12 in the top 20 of the category for a serial. All these covers are identical, and I'm like, stupid, taking up spots that could be used for me. But I'm thinking, wow, she got it going. She's up there in the rankings with that, so something's working. But okay, I'll go ahead and jump into my news, which is more of a cautionary tale, I guess, than any exciting launch stuff. Just a few days ago, I got an email from Amazon telling me that, as I've mentioned, my pen name books, some of them are in KDP Select. So the email says, hey, this book that's in KDP Select is available on Kobo. Here's the link. You need to take it down in less than 5 days, or you're going to be kicked out of Select. And it was like not just that title, but they kind of implied that all of my titles could be kicked out of Select, and I'd never be invited back in again, which is fun. As you know, especially since the pen name actually, you know, that income is, it's really kind of a nice treat because you don't calculate it with, when you look at your sales income, the borrow stuff all comes in when the final report comes in, like 2 weeks after the month is over. So you get a nice boost and you're excited about it. Or I am, because I'm easily excited. But anyway, so this book I've never published anywhere except Amazon. So I go to this Kobo link and I'm like, what the heck? It's the book, it's the title, it's the blurb, it's the cover, and apparently the entire book is there. And so I email Kobo and I'm like, hey, what's going on? Do you guys know anything about this? And it was over the weekend, so it took a couple of days before the people got back to me. And they said, yeah, that title is here through Draft to Digital, and we can't just yank it down. You're going to have to talk to the Draft to Digital people. And by this time, I've looked online and Googled it. And I'm like, oh, it's at Barnes and Noble. I mean, it's pretty much everywhere you can distribute to. And you know, the guy's selling it for $2.99, or it could be the girl. I don't know. Scammers can come in all genders, I suppose. And I'm like bitter. It already has reviews at Barnes and Noble and everything. I'm like, somebody's freaking making money off my book, and it's not me. So I emailed Draft to Digital, and I also emailed Mark Lefebvre because I have his number, or not his number. Don't tell his wife now. His email address. That's the Kobo writing director guy. And you know, fortunately, once I emailed those guys, things happened really quickly. I was dreading it because I don't have a Draft to Digital account, and I kind of thought, you know, it's going to take forever for anything to happen. And I was imagining having to like try to prove my identity on this pen name book. I'm like, I can't exactly show you my birth certificate or social security number. But fortunately, it ended up being a known scammer, and they were like, oh yeah, we'll shut that down right away. And they did. Within less than 24 hours, the book was down from all the sites that it was distributed to. So hopefully, you know, I emailed Amazon and let them know. Hopefully everything will be cool. But just a warning to people, you know, this can happen to you. And it's not just me. I've seen it especially in authors getting their books stolen and put up on like really minor ebook sales sites, like places you might have not bothered to put your own books there. So I would definitely recommend every now and then just Googling your stuff and seeing if it's appearing in places where you didn't submit it to, and you're sure that Smashwords or Draft to Digital, whoever is your distributor, you know, you're sure it's not on their list of places to distribute to. And definitely email whoever the site is, and hopefully they'll get it taken down quickly. Obviously, if you're not in KDP Select, it's not as huge of a deal. You're just losing money, but you're not going to be kicked out of the program. But if it wasn't for that, who knows how long it would have been before I noticed. I mean, I'm sure I would have eventually, because the book showed up under the pen name, you know, like in the Kobo catalog. I would have been like, there's 3 titles here. There should only be 2. But definitely, I would recommend that if you haven't checked on that before, you should look into it and make sure nobody's scamming you and getting your money.
My question for you: if you got this book of yours taken down from all these sites that it shouldn't be there, and it's been making money, do you get the money?
No, I don't think I get the money. I'm pretty sure the scammer doesn't get the money either. But yeah, I had that thought. Somebody asked on Twitter. I was like, no, that kind of sucks though, because obviously it sold at least 1 copy at Barnes and Noble. I mean, I'm sure it sold enough copies. It had sales rankings and everything. So it's like, that is pretty sucky.
Well, on top of you mentioning that you should Google your name every once in a while, check out the torrents, because all it takes is someone to get a hold of your book and then submit it to a torrent, and once one of those blankety blank places gets it, like everybody gets it. And luckily, the majority of them will adhere to that DMCA claim. If you I can give you a copy of the letter I use, because every once in a while I'll do the search, and I found my book 2 and book 3 on a couple of the torrents, and I submitted the letters there, and within like 24 hours they were yanked down. There's a couple that are still out there, but it's just the free one there, which still annoys me, but I keep hammering them with the violation letter there. But most of them will adhere to it. If you can prove who you are, that you own copyright to all this, they will take it down as well. It's just something to be on the lookout for too.
Yeah, for sure. And I know some of my books are out there pirated on the sites, and I care less about that. I mean, if you want to, I totally understand sending the letters, that makes perfect sense. But it was more the idea, well, first it was the idea that it threatened my book's ability to be in KDP Select, but the idea that someone's actually making money on my books that's not me, that's where I have a little bit of a problem. I care less about people sharing stuff for free, but I probably should watch out for it more.
Yeah, I get updates. I have Google alerts set up for my name and for the names of most of my books, and mostly I just get alerted when they're on torrent sites, and I don't even try to whack them down anymore. It's just, all right, you're downloading my book for free. The thing that bothers me is it's probably the same zip file that's been making the run for the entire, for every single one of them, and it doesn't include the short story Jade. And I'm like, if you're gonna steal my books, just steal all my books. Just just add that one in too. A friend of mine wants me to actually put up my own torrent of my own stuff for free just to include that one. He's like, people will respect you. I'm like, they're also think that I'm advocating stealing my stuff instead of buying it. So I won't chase down all the torrenters, but I'm also not gonna give them a freebie. Do a little bit of work for it.
I think I remember a few years ago somebody actually doing that, sticking all their books on the pirate site and then like writing this big blog post about how horrible the pirate sites are. Look, my stuff's been pirated. And then I remember somebody else that bundled a bunch of fantasy books and put theirs in there with like R.A. Salvatore and Robert Jordan, and hoping that people would steal this big bundle of books and then their book would be in there. So it was like a promotional tactic.
That's kind of brilliant.
I have no idea if it worked for the guy or not.
That's an interesting idea. Not that I would advocate something like that, but it is a good idea.
All right, before we jump into our newsletter discussion, do you guys want to talk a little bit about our free bundle that we launched a few weeks ago?
Sure. Well, this is Epic. Epic was in
Quest.
That one.
They're all the same.
It's funny because they're literally right next to each other on my thing. Yeah, we launched an 8-novel bundle called Quest. It's all epic novels. It's all free series starters, and it's free right now. I got my feet wet formatting the thing, and we've got some reviews now. And because my book is the first one in it, the reviews tend to mention my book, which is kind of unnerving. It's not doing. The reviews aren't terrible. Oddly enough, one of the reviews is a 3-star review saying that they haven't started reading it yet, which is a little bit unusual, I think. But yeah, we've spoken in the past about bundles and whether they're good or they're bad, and this is all 3 of us are in it along with 5 other fine authors, and I'm kind of happy with how it's been going. It's staying up there on the charts reasonably well, and again, they've been mentioning my stuff in the reviews. So, I should say I've also gotten 2 emails, 1 piece of fan mail, and well, I guess 2 pieces of fan mail, saying that they enjoyed my book as part of the bundle. So I've got colloquial information that it's working as a marketing tactic. How do you guys feel about it?
I've noticed an increase in newsletter subscriptions. When that thing came out and it started going up the charts, I've noticed there's a lot more traffic heading my blog to check it out because I put it at the end of my book. Same thing as I'm sure you guys do in the author's note. Hey, if you're interested in this book, hey, number 2 is available. There's some other books here. Check me out. I'm at Lantari.com. And as a result, I watched as soon as that thing came out, it started going up the charts. The traffic increased. It boosted the sales to the other books there, so I can't complain.
Yeah, I think we've, I just checked on my KDP dashboard there, and we've given away over 20,000 copies in the US. It's not as high in the free store as I was hoping. It would stick more around 100. I think it was 200 something last I checked, but 20,000 copies for, it costs about $200 for the cover art, and then people kicked in a little money for advertising. So it was really kind of an inexpensive thing to put together. And, I can't complain at all. And I've definitely seen an uptick in the sales of my second book in the series. And this is I think for all of us, this is kind of the theme of the set. I was looking for people that had a perma-free book one that had been out for a while and kind of fallen down in the rankings, and it's really hard to keep the downloads up there year after year. So it's getting a nice little extra boost. And I did a BookBub ad for the first 3 books in this series also this month, and I can definitely see the big bump in book 4 from that too. But I'm also, like I said, getting a nice bump in book 2 sales. And I'm assuming, too, I still have the box set for 99 cents for a couple more days. I'm assuming some of the people who read the book in the bundle are on the clever side, and we're like, hey, screw book 2, I can get books 2 and 3 for 99 cents. So I'm attributing some of those sales to that. Haven't gotten any emails specifically about the bundle yet, but I think that, like I said, it's only been 2 or 3 weeks, and Joe's in there first. He did the formatting, so he gets all the love. He gets to go first, and I'm second. And I don't remember where we stuck Jeffrey. I think we did alphabetical order. So it's great to see that it is trickling through the bundle, and everybody is getting a little bit of a boost. And all we did was we did a few ads, and we announced it to our lists basically when we released it, and we put a dragon on the cover because, as we've discussed before, dragons sell in fantasy.
They sure do. Once again, this is evidence of it.
All right. Well, if you guys don't have anything else on that, we could jump into the meat of the show, I think. And we're going to talk about newsletters, since I think this is something people wonder about. I'll just go ahead. You guys can talk first, and I'll jump in at the end. So first kind of topic is how did you get started with your newsletter, and who are you using to host it?
I got started. I should have been started a long time ago, but I didn't. So I got started where on my blog I had people when I first started up, I had trolls like crazy leaving all kinds of stupid spam crap. So I engaged the registration aspect of it, so people started signing in to be able to leave a comment on the blog. As a result, gave me their email addresses. So that was a nice, healthy little start to it. But so I started looking around to see what it would take to start one of these newsletters, because I've never messed with one in my life. But I consider myself a smart guy. I'm pretty sure I could figure it out. But I'm using WordPress for my blog, so I figured maybe there is some sort of an add-on or a plugin that would do it. And I found a really cool newsletter that said, if you want to host your own newsletter, you can go ahead and install this plugin. You have to, specify an SMTP server, an outgoing email server. And they had a few recommendations, and one of them is Gmail. And one of the nice things about the one they do with Gmail is that in order to avoid being classified as a spammer, Gmail will only send out small batches of newsletters at a time. That way it slips in under the radar, so to speak. And it's a free service, free of charge there, and it works beautifully. So me personally, I'm hosting my own. I actually use it on WordPress. It's literally called the newsletter plugin, and if anyone's interested, I can provide links to it. And it does a really good job. It lets me pick who I want to send it to, when I want to send it. I can put all kinds of graphics and stuff into things. I put the little Tales of Lantari logo on there, and all kinds of really cool stuff. So I'm enjoying it immensely.
Hey, can I ask you a question before we jump over to Joe? Do you know if there's any limit with that? Because most people, once they get into the thousands of subscribers, like the hosts will start charging them more, or So I'm kind of curious: is there any limit to how many subscribers you can have using that plugin that Gmail will work with you on that?
From what I saw on Gmail is that if I say they might take it a little bit if you have a really big list, but they will actually just start working at it. Like I think it's like 8 or 10 people every 5 or 10 minutes, just enough to keep the flowage. That's not even a word. Keep the amount of emails down under the radar, so that way it's not flagged as junk, essentially. So, but I have not seen a limit yet on what you can put on there.
All right, yeah, I'd be curious about that because I've got like 4,000 or 5,000 people on mine, and I've run into romance authors. They sell tons. There's so many romance people out there that have tens of thousands of people on their list. So I'm just curious, because I remember thinking about that too when I first got started. Is a lot of pretty much all the web hosts have all those things you can automatically install, and a lot of them have like a mailing list in there too. So I was curious about that.
Yeah, I haven't noticed it. I haven't noticed any limits yet. So. I mean, that might change somewhere down the line, but right now the Gmail one's working beautifully.
And can you do things like tracking whether links were clicked, or can you do autoresponders? Can you set that up?
You can do. I know you can do the tracking, autoresponders. That's a feature I'm pretty sure I saw. Nice. I've seen in there, but I just haven't used it yet. At least not with the type of newsletters I send out.
Okay. Well, I'll definitely put the link in the show notes if anyone is interested and wants to check that out, because newsletter hosting isn't free, and as you get up there with more and more subscribers, it gets more expensive. But we will talk about later a way I know a lot of people are kind of offsetting that and actually making money from their list. So, but Joe, do you want to tell us what you're doing?
Sure. I did my newsletters in 2 different ways. Probably about 2 years ago is when I started, but it was a very, very afterthought type thing. And I also used Google not to send the emails, but just to accumulate the email addresses. I set up a Google Forms like survey type thing and put that on my site. And it was just sort of my own thing. It wasn't a plugin or anything like that. And it wasn't a great idea because then I have to craft my own emails. I didn't use any plugins, and I had to be very careful I wasn't going to be flagged as spam. And then when I decided it was time to get serious with a newsletter instead of just sort of having it as a vestigial organ of my site, then I moved over to MailChimp, which is a fairly popular one. And it's free, I think, for the first 2,000 or so, and I haven't hit 2,000 yet. I'm only at around 400 because, again, I haven't pushed it as much as I might. And MailChimp is very good. They have their own, like, they have codified in their UI. They'll make sure that you have to put all the appropriate things so you avoid being spam. And for paid things, they can do stuff like there is tracking on your links. That's not paid. That's free. Autoresponders might be a paid feature, but they have a thing called the final greeting or whatever, which for when somebody signs up, it asks them to confirm that they actually wanted to sign up, and then you can build your own page there. So it's a sort of a form of an autorespond because it's one email they're definitely going to get, and you can include files and stuff. But what I like best is that you can put together a template, and you can use that same template for all of your emails. So we'll probably talk later about how we handle the emails that we send out. But they've got a very good user interface and very, very good tracking. After I send out any newsletter, I check to see how many bounces there were and how many people clicked through, and they compare it to the industry average of other people who claim to be in your area, so you can see if it was an effective email. So I like MailChimp for that. It's been treating me right.
Yeah, I've heard from a lot of authors that use MailChimp, and I think it's great that they give you the 2,000 subscribers, because if we're honest with ourselves, or most self-published authors are never going to get more than 2,000 subscribers. I mean, unless you turn this into a career and you're accumulating people over years. I started my list back in 2011, and and I'm not like a serious go-getter with it, so I do think it is possible to get into the thousands if you start giving away free books and stuff like that. But most people are not going to be so hardcore into it, especially if they're just publishing their first novel. And the place I use is Aweber, and I don't think they have a free service. I think you kick right in. You might get a month free or something like that. But so I think that charges right off the bat. But if you're going to grow it up pretty big, I think it's a pretty good deal. I kind of compared numbers once, and I could be totally wrong because I've never used MailChimp, with somebody else that had a pretty big list, and she said she was paying something like $75 every time she sent out an email because she had, so many thousand subscribers, and I think they were basing it on, each email you got charged for basically, or something like that. And at Aweber it is unlimited, or it is under my plan. I'm kind of grandfathered in on an old plan. I haven't looked at the most recent ones, but I'm pretty sure it's unlimited rather than per email. It's like a certain amount a month based on how many subscribers you have. And with mine, I can have multiple lists too on that, which, like, I've got my pen name and my regular name all under the same account. And I've got some old stuff from before I became an author still on there that I should probably delete. And I think that's still true, so that's something to consider too. But I think they're all probably pretty similar in the end. And one thing I wanted to actually mention is what autoresponders are, because that's something I didn't know. I used to listen to marketing podcasts. I'm like, what the heck are they talking about? So if you're in the same boat, basically you can set up your mailing list so that when somebody subscribes, they automatically get, probably right away, they get a thank you email where you may list links to your book. And I'm laughing because I haven't done any of this, but in theory, you could do this, where you say, like, hey, thanks for subscribing. Maybe you want to check out, these are my 3 series starters, or these are my free books, or whatever. And then you can have something that goes out, like, say, 7 days later, based on when they subscribed. It's like, hey, if you got to check out any of my books, I don't know, but here's something else you might want to check out. And 2 weeks later, you could say, hey, if you got to check out those free books, maybe you could leave a review. And so they get those things in addition to whenever your next broadcast is. And it's just an option. One thing we'll probably talk about later is that as authors, we're often really reluctant to email our people and bug them, because a lot of us are introverts and we don't want to be bugged. But if you look at sort of the marketing data out there, it turns out that people who email more often make more sales. Like a lot of time, you think these are your diehard fans, you announce a release and that's all you do, but I've talked to a lot of people, especially those romance people that are always seem to be on the ball. They're like, no, you mail out another letter 7 days later, and you can use affiliate links to track if people actually buy, and you will get sales, more sales even if it's exactly the same as the last email. They deleted it or they didn't notice it, so it's actually a good idea to be in contact maybe more often than you would feel as an author comfortable doing. So any thoughts on that, guys?
No, I have. That's one thing. That's another thing I actually thought about starting up was I was using the affiliate links there because I've heard people use them. I know you use them, and I was looking forward to getting that down to that section because I was going to learn a little bit more about it. Is how well do you think it works for you using those affiliate links?
Oh, I love it. When I send out a newsletter for my own book, when I can go in and see that I made like 400 sales overnight. And then what's interesting that I've also seen is that you'll see what else people are buying when they buy your book. This is kind of one of the reasons I got into the science fiction romance, because I found out that a lot of my readers of like my steampunk fantasy series were also picking up paranormal romance or science fiction romance or something else. It's still speculative fiction, but did have that romance element. So of course, I also had people buy vibrators and other things, so we won't go into those details too much, but sometimes it's hilarious the things you see in your reports that, because, you get paid for everything somebody buys during the 24 hours after they click on your link, so.
Occupational hazard for a romance writer, huh?
I know, this was funny because all my books at that point were like PG, so I don't know if it was like unresolved sexual tension was playing a role or something, but I've seen some hilarious things that you can buy on Amazon that I never would have guessed that you can buy on Amazon.
Oh, that's awesome.
I got to agree. The affiliate links are good, and again, the also bought type stuff that shows up there. Often, my biggest income from affiliates will be like, oh, they bought my book, and also a chemistry set and a barbecue grill. Like there'll be like really big ticket items that showed up, and like, wow, I guess I was lucky that they were shopping for barbecue grills that day. But it's
every now and then you get
money.
gold.
Yeah.
I had like 4 security cameras sell one time, and it was like a $2,000 purchase, and I don't remember what my commission was, but it was significant. So that's pretty nice, and that's kind of how you can pay for. We were talking about how, it does cost money to have email to pay for hosting if you're not Jeffrey and you and you don't do it yourself on your own site. So that's one way to kind of offset the cost. As your list grows, you have more potential buyers on the list. And like I said, not only will they hopefully buy your book when it comes out, but they might buy other stuff while they're shopping. And you can also, I was going to talk about this later, but if you read some book that's awesome, but it's also in your genre and you think your readers would like it, you can send that out to your list as a either in PS on your regular message, this book was really good too and you should check it out, affiliate link. Or if it's like, you're only releasing a book a year or 2 books a year, and you're thinking, oh, I should email my newsletter subscribers so that they don't forget about me, that's what you can do. You send out something like, hey, man, I totally read this awesome epic fantasy book that it's really similar in tone to my stuff, so you might like it. And then you can make a little extra money, and also you're doing your readers a favor because you're recommending a book that's, if you like it, chances are they may like it too.
So let me get this straight. If your book happens to have a scene in there, let's say somebody's grilling something out in the backyard, so you could put a little affiliate link down there. Also, check out these barbecues. They're on sale. Go take a look. I get it.
I would probably just recommend other books to readers. But if you have a barbecue grill that you're in love with, I'm sure you could mention it there. Father's Day sale. But you just hope that they'll surf around Amazon and maybe buy other stuff while they're there.
Most do.
Of course they do, because they're like me and they have Amazon Prime, and once they put one thing in their basket, they're like, oh, I need to get enough stuff to get free shipping, or I need like 8 more things so I won't feel silly just ordering toilet paper. So it's an addiction.
Yeah, order a really cool pack of 2 pens there, and they send it to you in a huge box. You're like, don't want to waste the space there, so what else can we put in there?
Yeah, it's hilarious when you get the huge box with something tiny in it.
Cool.
Delivered by a drone.
Yeah, I'll definitely look into those affiliate links. It sounds like something else I should get into. It's not dinner time yet.
All right. That's true. I haven't had dinner yet. Thanks for the reminder. So, Jeff, did you have any like pros and cons you gave us some of the pros of doing your own mailing list. Was there anything people should watch out for if they do check out your plugin?
Well, the plugin, the internet, sorry, the computer user would have to be comfortably internet in the intermediate level there. This is not something, if you're not really too sure what you're doing, it requires going in there. It requires, making sure you've got the right SMTP server. You got to make sure you've got the right settings in place, got the right, port numbers in place. You other using, I mean, it's all the lingo that if you have experience, messing with setting up email accounts, you should be familiar with it. You could probably figure it out. But it's not for an amateur or a beginner, and it takes someone that actually knows what they're doing in order to actually get it to work. Because if something fails, because they've got, I will say this newsletter plugin has some really good help files where if they always say, like, if this fails, chances are it's probably this. Go check this, switch it to that sort of thing. But if something does fail, you're on your own essentially, because the plugin maker says, hey, I'm making this plugin available to those who would like to use it. You're on your own, though. If something's wrong with it, you can always submit like a computer tech support email type of thing. We might get back to it. We might not. You never know. So you have to have a strong enough a computer background to at least have an idea of what to do if something doesn't work. And it happened to me once where I was trying to get those emails to go out with Gmail, and man, I was one port number off. It wouldn't work. And only by poking around in the actual innards of the plugin and the settings there that look like a bunch of mumbo jumbo junk, I said, oh, that must be what they're referring to this, because the person that wrote this newsletter plugin, while she did a fantastic job, does not speak English as a first language. She does pretty good, but you need to use patience, and you'll figure it out.
Okay, do you think it's the kind of thing where if somebody paid somebody to set it up for them, then it would be pretty easy to use after that point?
I do, yes.
All right, good news. Well, I think one thing a lot of new authors kind of wonder is how the heck do you get people to sign up for your newsletter in the first place? So do you guys want to talk about kind of like what you've done and what's worked for getting people to sign up?
What's worked really well for me is I'll actually, like in the author's note at the end of the books there, it says, okay, thanks for reading. I hope you enjoyed this. And check out the next book that's coming out. And don't forget to sign up for the newsletter sort of thing. It's a great way to learn about book releases, contests, whatever else you want to actually announce there. And I don't want to say go so far as I say like I push it everywhere. I just wherever I actually start chatting with fans or whatnot, I'll actually bring it up just a small thing. Oh yeah, don't forget to sign up for the newsletter. And ever since I started doing that, the newsletter subscriptions has started going up. So that's what's been working for me.
Yeah, I can second that. I put it in the back of the books. Just in the little afterword, I'll mention that I have a newsletter, and that's a good place to sign up. But I can also add to that I bribe people. Bribery is very effective. So there's always something that regular readers can't get that is in my newsletter. First, it was a wallpaper. Then it was a different wallpaper. Then it was an early look at some artwork. And right now, it's a short story. And whenever I come up with a new thing, then the old thing moves out so that everyone can have it. But yeah, I will occasionally mention, like on social networks, like the fan page, it'll be like, oh, by the way, I wrote a short story called The Stump and the Spire. If you want to read it, sign up for the newsletter. You'll get it right away. Other people who are already on the newsletter have already been reading it. And it usually causes like, a dozen or so people to jump on when I make the announcement, and it ramps things up. So as in all other parts of life, bribery is fairly effective.
Yeah, that's been on my to-do list forever, is to write something exclusive for the mailing list. Or as some authors I've talked to will do, like you were saying, they'll kind of send it out to the list first, even though they intend to eventually publish it for everybody. But when they publish it, then they'll put something new, exclusive for the list. So I might actually finally be able to do that eventually, because I'm getting to the point where I have a number of projects that are almost finished but not yet published. And in the past, I've been like, well, I have something finished. I want to put it up and sell it, of course. But I do think the bribery is a good idea. I've heard that works well. And one thing I read, Joanna Penn from the Creative Penn did a really nice article on kind of how she just tripled her newsletter signups. And one of the things she did is starting to mention, I think she gives away some free books, or at least a free book to anybody that subscribes that's not already free. And she put the link in the front of the book as well as at the end of the book, kind of with the assumption that people sometimes get to the end and don't click to see if there's anything else after that in the book. So, I guess that made a big difference for her. And I'll see if I can find that article and put that in the show notes too, because she did some other good stuff to really improve that. Like, she went from like 600 subscribers to 2,000 some subscribers in just a few months after she'd had the list going for quite a while. Also in it, I like to give advice that I haven't followed yet, because that seems like a good thing to do. But in advice that I have not followed but I need to follow is actually on your website. It's a good idea to put your newsletter sign up above the fold, like so people don't have to scroll down to find it, and make it really prominent. It's up to you if you want to use like some plugin to make it a pop-up. It's kind of like the newsletter thing. A lot of authors are leery of that, and it's like invasive, they feel, but it's one of those things that when you actually see the studies, it really works. It really improves signups. And I probably will never do pop-ups. I don't feel that desperate for subscribers. I don't know. No, it's something that annoys me on a principle, so I don't think I could do it. But I know I think it's King Sumo is a plugin you can get for WordPress that lets you have a tagline at the top of your website, like a little bar at the top that puts your newsletter subscription form basically in that little bar. So it appears on every page of your site, and it's right there at the top. So that's something when I finally get around to redesigning my website, which has been on the list for a couple years, I'm definitely going to do that, because right now I just have a separate page that says, book news, and I've got the sign up at the top of that page, and then I've got it over in the bar, like the sidebar down lower. So it's there, and people find it, but it could definitely be more prominent. And I should say too, with all the people that I was saying I have on my list, a lot of them are people that sign up because I blog about self-publishing. The pen name list is a little more genuine, where actual only fans are signing up, because my pen name doesn't blog about hardly anything except new releases. And that has 371 people so far. So that's maybe a more realistic number that you could get in the first year or something if you're trying. So. But anyway, I would say too, I won't go into it, but I think it's Mark Dawson. Is that his name? I'll try to find it and put it in the show notes. He's been on a couple of interviews for podcasts, and if you listen to all the podcasts, maybe you already heard his thing, but he's been using Facebook to get newsletter signups to a special list. He made a special list where he uses Facebook and gives away some books. He uses the ads on there, and he tracks how much he spends, and then he gets people onto a separate list from his regular one, because these aren't proven readers yet. I think you kind of want to only get your proven readers on your main list, actual fans, rather than just random people, especially when you get into the territory where you're paying for your list. But so he gets them in his list, gives them away some free books, then I think he uses the autoresponder to offer them later his bundle for like $6.99 on Amazon, like, hey, if you like the free books, I've got these 4 books in a bundle and it's a great deal. And then he tracks how much he makes on the bundle sales, and if it's more than he's paying on the Facebook ads, he comes out ahead. And I think the last time I heard him do an interview, it was something like $2,000 he'd spent on Facebook ads and $4,000 or $5,000 he'd made from the bundle sales that he plugged to those people he got from Facebook. So that's something I was really interested in, and I may try that with my pen name once she has a few more books out. I could try it with my own name too, but we'll see. It sounds like something really interesting worth trying, so maybe in some future show we can talk about that. But just one last question, I guess we already talked about affiliate links, but I don't know, we kind of talked about this too, but how often do you guys send out your newsletters, and is that something you think you should do more of, or how's it going for you?
I usually send out probably at least once a week, maybe once a week and a half at the very most. And if by chance I actually have something worthwhile that I want them to know about, then I'll put in there like, newsletter, a supplemental edition or a special edition, hear ye sort of thing. And I'll actually say, like, for instance, I just put Thoughts for a Portal #4 up for pre-order. Go check it out. I think you'll enjoy it. Now, don't kill me. This is finally the the ending of the cliffhanger. So, but there's something worthy to report, I'll actually add an additional newsletter in there. But usually about once a week for me.
In my case, I send them very infrequently. It tends to be maybe once a month, but it's only really when I have something to announce. So a new book announcement, or I'm in this bundle, or I'm going to be in this anthology. and I only very recently started doing the major announcement email, and then a week or two later the sort of follow-up email, and I sort of disguise it. The content of mine are always the template is two-story, so it's the main thing and then a second point. And when I do the follow-up email, the main thing is something new, and the second point is the main point of the previous one. So it's sort of it doesn't look like the same email, but it is reminding people of the thing they might have missed, especially if they read to the second portion. So that's, yeah, I probably should send more regularly, but as it is right now, it's only with major announcements.
Yeah, I think it was on another show, the other podcast I'm doing, we interviewed someone that said that they send out, their main sales spiel. Then a week later, they send it out like, "Thank you for purchasing book 5 in the Dragonblood series. I really appreciate it. Oh, and if you didn't purchase it yet, here's those links again." So it doesn't seem like the hard sell, But yeah, I'm kind of with Joe. I'm actually impressed that Jeff's doing it every week. I feel a little envious that I should be living up to that. I'm usually about once a month, and that's honestly, I release something almost once a month, or if not a new release, like oh hey, I'm in a bundle, or hey, I'm doing this promotion with some other authors, and check out all these free books. So I think that keeps me in touch, but like I was saying, I really want to get into the thing where I do start sending out that second email, because it always actually amazes me when I send out an email, I do Facebook posts, I do tweets, I do a Google Plus announcement, all this stuff for a new release, and like 2 months later somebody will be on Twitter and be like, "Oh my God, you have a new book out. How did I not know this?" I'm like, "Well, I don't know. Do you not stalk me obsessively like you should? What's the deal?" But yeah, so most people are not going to see most of the announcements you make on social media and things. They're not glued to your feed, as depressing as that is. So it's probably a good idea to announce it more often than we think we should. And I think as authors too, we're not like selling vacuum cleaners or something like that. We're selling something that people really enjoy, at least those that sign up for their list. So they probably actually want to hear from us. It's probably like a cool thing, So I think most of us are not too much in danger of spamming everybody. So, but I think that's about all the questions and stuff I had here to touch on newsletters. Do you guys have anything else you want to add or ask?
I think that about covers it for me with newsletters there.
Likewise.
All right. Well, if you guys out there listening have any questions on newsletters, feel free to come by Marketing SFFS. Is that our site name? MarketingSFF.com. I feel like we should have gotten a different domain name that I could pronounce, but no, come on by the site and ask the comments, and we'll bring it up on another show or something. And yeah, you guys stop laughing. I don't know how I became the host. All right, moving on. Joe is going to talk to us about the story bundle call for NaNoWriMo submissions.
That's right. Like we talk about this show's about marketing, and we're trying to help you find ways to market your book. This is one of the first times we're going to actually offer a marketing opportunity right here on the show. Since most of our viewers are probably authors, this should be helpful for you. If you were involved in NaNoWriMo, and I know a lot of us are, and you've written a sci-fi or fantasy story, Story Bundle's looking for submissions for the NaNoWriMo bundle. They did one last year, and I was in it. They're doing one this year again, and if they get no submissions, that is. So I would like you to submit. I'm going to say this at the beginning and say it again at the end. The email address to send your book to, and you're going to send an EPUB or a Mobi, is nanosubmissions@storybundle.com. No, all one word, no spaces or underscores. nanosubmissions@storybundle.com. Basically, if you wrote it during NaNoWriMo and it's in the sci-fi or fantasy genre, and you think it's worth selling, then you can submit it. We won't own it. We don't have any exclusive rules. Just if we like it, it'll be in a bundle and you'll make some money. And in case we've spoken about Story Bundle in the past, but in case you aren't familiar, here's the deal with Story Bundle. Story Bundle is like Humble Indie Bundle or any other of the other bundle sites. It's a limited time bundle with usually between 6 and 8 authors selling 6 or 8 books usually. And it's pay what you want, and the there's a minimum and then there's a bonus threshold. So the income over the course of, it's probably going to run about 2 weeks. All of the book sales will be divided evenly amongst the number of books the author had in the bundle. And then a portion can be given away to charity. And it's a great way to put your book in the hands of a lot of people for what they think it's worth. And you might make it less, you might make more. I have found I've been in several of these bundles, and I've found that I tend to make about the same per sale on a bundle sale as I tend to make on a regular sale, because people like to get the bonus threshold, which usually works out pretty well for the authors. And Story Bundle is always looking for submissions, and they always have curators picking books, but the Nano Bundle is separate from other bundles because it's essentially a contest. It's a subset of their normal thing, so you have a better chance of your book being pulled. And for those who have heard of NaNoWriMo but haven't read up on it or haven't been involved in it, NaNoWriMo is a self-imposed challenge that authors do during the month of November to write a 50,000-word book entirely within the month of November. So that's one of the only requirements to be in this little subset of the Story Bundle, is to have written your book during NaNoWriMo. So I'm going to say once again, nanosubmissions at storybundle.com if you wanted to try entering this. And does anybody have any questions about any of this?
I'm going to go ahead and put that email address in the show notes so people can, if they're out jogging and didn't get that, they can go check it out. And I just want to say, as somebody who was in Story Bundle like 1.5 years ago with some other authors, it was not insignificant money. It was, I think I might have had a double split because I had maybe 2 books in it or something like that, but it was over $1,000. So it's not like, I was like, oh, hey, people are willing to, we had Jason Chen on here, one of our first guests, and as he was saying, it's kind of a different crowd than the Amazon people trying to snag those 99-cent bundles. So people are actually willing to pay like $10 to get, several high-quality books.
Yep, the bonus threshold is usually $8 to $10, depending on how many books are in it and what their usual value is. And the average purchase tends to be right about on the bonus threshold. So, yeah, you'll make money. I've found usually if I can get my book into a bundle, I will make back the money I spent producing the book just from the bundle. So it's a good way to make money, but it's also a good way to get your book out there. And it has all the same benefits as, like we were talking about, the free bundle that we did, where everyone involved is pushing it at the same time. So you amplify your audience because every single person who's in it is going to mention to their audience, and you get crossover. It's very effective overall.
Okay.
What does the NaNoWriMo stand for?
National Novel Writing Month.
National Novel Writing Month. I heard that somewhere, and I was trying to remember it. It's gone. But okay, thank you.
No problem. I should also mention this is essentially a contest, but again, it's merit-based. We were originally taking submissions until the 30th, so the end of this month, but I believe we're going to be taking until the end of May now. So you have some time, if to jump on.
And is this only for people who finished their novel in or participate in November of 2014?
No, it can be any NaNoWriMo that you were a part of, as long as it was written in the month of November. As long as essentially you succeeded at NaNoWriMo, then you can come on and submit your book. Okay,
and do you need to submit like your link to your NaNoWriMo book page from last year or whenever?
It's the honors system. We'll trust you.
All right, Jeff, did you have any other questions?
I don't, not at this time.
All right. Well, yeah, we'll definitely come to the show notes, guys. If you're listening to this before May 31st, was it?
May 31st. Yep.
Okay, 2015. Just to be clear, because I know when I find a podcast, I'll go back and listen to 3 years worth of stuff. So. All right, and we're almost up to an hour here, but I think we can finish up. We were gonna kind of address contests in general, a little bit inspired by Joe's Story Bundle opportunity there. Just kind of wondering if, would you guys feel like it's ever worth entering contests that you find online as an author to try to get either a monetary prize or kind of an accolade that you can put in your book description? What do you guys think?
It'd have to be like a contest, or I would feel have to be a contest that people would hear about. Because what's the point of saying, oh yeah, I won this particular award here, I was a finalist in this. otherwise you come across being pretentious. And there's some readers that are like, yeah, no, it sounds like a snob. No thanks, and move on to the next one. Don't ask me how I know this.
In my case, I found if it's a big contest, I agree. If it's a big contest, it's worth going into just because on the off chance that you win, then you sort of have an accolade. But there have been times. The Kindle Book Review is my one example that I was involved with. They ran a contest for best of whatever 2013, I think it must have been, or 2012, and I got included in it. It was $25 to get in, and I didn't enter it to win a prize, although I believe there was a prize if you won. I did it because I wanted to see if I could win, basically. I didn't even really care if it was prestigious. I was just like, hopefully, maybe it'll mean I'm good enough. And I ended up getting into the final round with five other finalists for the genre, four other finalists for the genre, but one of them was Hugh Howey, so I knew immediately that I was not going to win. But two of the other people who were in there with me, one of them was Tammy Salyer, and I don't remember the name of the other one right now, I've worked with in the past, so it turned out to be sort of a networking opportunity. Tammy Salyer, who has been on the show, is also my regular editor now. So it was effective for me just to sort of meet people who were in the same genre and had apparently the same level of skill. So they can be handy, even if you don't win.
All right. I never entered those things because I always write such kind of straight up, I don't know, pulp fiction kind of stuff, like nothing literary or that I could see winning a contest, so I've never bothered. But it is worth checking out, whatever contest you might be thinking of entering. And you can go to, I think, Ralan.com, RALAN.com. I think he still keeps all that stuff updated. He's got like it's a big spec fic market, all the pro markets, all the semi-pro, all the paid markets, and there's a page for contests that's always updated with what's going on this year. And I think he usually vets stuff pretty well, so if it's on there, it's probably legit. But there are a lot of scams out there. Any contest that's asking you for money, you want to be really careful and check them out thoroughly. It's not weird for them to ask for money because they're going to have to judge all these entries and stuff and pay for prizes. But I'm going to put some links in the show notes to like the Writer Beware blog. They've mentioned contests several times, like how to see if it's a scam, some of the red flags you should look for, how to see if the contest has an agenda, you don't want to be involved in it. So it's just a be careful thing. If it sounds like something fun to you, you go for it. And I know Amazon does, I don't know if they still do it, I haven't checked in a couple of years, but their annual breakout novel contest, where they end up giving a publishing contract through one of their little imprints. And I can't remember if there's money involved or if it's just a publishing contract, but they always get a lot of entries. I remember that was one of the few contests I entered. I entered Encrypted, my novel, the first, probably back in 2011 or something, and that was always one of my favorite novels. I was like, oh, this is the one, they'll love it. I didn't even make it to the first round. I was like, screw you guys, I'm already making money from this book. So I'd self-published it. They did allow self-published stuff in, but so in case you guys think it's all fluffy puppies here, it's not. But yeah, any other things you guys want to ask about contests, or any comments on it before we close up?
I think it's definitely a good idea. I was just looking at some of those links that you provided there, and it's, yeah, I see the ones from the SIFWA there was saying, Writer Beware contest. I'm like, that's, if they're posting a page dedicated to contests to be on the lookout for, definitely worth checking out.
Yeah, and I think some of the really legitimate contests that have been around for a long time, they're going to have more competition. So that's just something to think about too. It just depends on, what level you think your writing is at. I personally, if you're just starting out, and you're kind of wanting that validation, my route would be, and it was just do some short stories and try to sell them to magazines or anthologies. So it's kind of like a contest thing, but that's just gives you the little bit like, okay, an editor paid for my story, even if it's a small magazine and they only paid $5 or something. That sort of gives you the confidence to think, all right, my stuff is good enough that I can publish it. And I don't think that's a bad idea. I think some people jump straight into publishing that first novel, and sometimes you're not ready. Most of the time, you're probably not ready if it's the first novel. So submit to magazines if you want, or anthologies, and if it sounds fun to you, go for contests. Especially if you have a whole novel, it can be kind of hard to find a market for that, and you wouldn't necessarily want to just submit that to a publisher. You probably make more money self-publishing these days, unless you can get a really good deal. But all right, I think I've rambled on enough there. So any closing thoughts on anything we've talked about today, guys?
No, at least in my case, I'm definitely going to be looking into those affiliate links because, like I said, that's one of those things on my to-do list. I've just never gotten around to it. Like certain people with newsletter with sign-ups on certain websites, that sort of thing. It's to-do list is there, just never got around to it.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh, come on, didn't you hear my flowage comment earlier? I can give you a heck for this. So.
All right. Any last tidbits for us, Joe?
Aside from my little story bundle spiel, I probably will have to weigh in later about the effectiveness of having a hard-to-spell name and then not promoting your own pre-order, but I will be promoting soon enough, don't worry.
Hey, it's still far enough out in advance there. What, November 12th, right? So you have time.
I got plenty of time for this one. I just got to make sure that I don't just forget until October. Oh, geez. That was completely wasted time.
All right, everybody, thanks for listening. And if you haven't already, go check out our Quest free ebook bundle there if you want to read all 3 of our books and some books by other good authors too. Check it out. And if you get time, leave a review on iTunes. We would appreciate it. And come by the site and send in any comments you have. Just throw up a comment. And we need to get a contact form on there. I am aware of that. It's on the to-do list. But Jeff's the web guy, so I'm going to make him do it. All right, you guys, thanks for listening to another show, and have a great night. Bye-bye.
Take it easy.